Have you ever wondered, how does sustainable fashion actually help the environment? Well, I know it's very sad and confusing times, and I know for sure that we don't have time to dig through a million articles to figure it out. So today we'll take a quick but deep dive into this topic to explore how sustainable fashion plays a crucial role in protecting our planet. I'm Ellie, and if you're new here, I make ethical fashion YouTube videos, so feel free to subscribe and turn on your post notifications if you haven't already. So to get started, we're going to be exploring sustainable fashion. So sustainable fashion first emerged as a way to counteract our current fashion industry known as fast fashion. And fast fashion is usually made from cheap materials in sweatshops and then pushed out at a very fast pace every few weeks. But this has caused very serious environmental and social concerns, and I am very concerned, okay? And I still want to be hopeful that the sustainable fashion world and industry can provide solutions like reducing textile waste, conserving natural resources, and protecting our planet. And I do believe that sustainable fashion does have the power to help the planet. I know it will take a lot of time, I know it will take a lot of effort, but I believe we can do this, especially when I know that there's enough clothing to clothe the next 6 generations. So it's really important that we address this excessive textile waste, especially when we can't even assume that the clothing that we donate in the thrift store are rehomed, because I was doing my research and I found out that actually 60 to 70% of the clothing that we donate to thrift stores don't even reach the store floor. So most of it ends up sold by the pound to textile companies and then ship the bundles of clothing to the global south. And then most of it is actually rejected because of its bad conditions, and then it's thrown away in their landfills, or it just bombards overflowing secondhand markets across the globe. So it's an overall bad practice that we must address. But now let's get into how sustainable fashion can lower carbon emissions and pollution, because according to the UN Environment Program, the fashion industry is the second largest consumer of water and is responsible for about 10% of global carbon emissions, which is actually more than international flights and all maritime shipping combined. Yeah, you heard that right. And it literally takes hundreds of years for fast fashion to decompose because it's usually created from man-made plastic materials. And even if it's incredibly resilient as a material, it is often found in our very cheap and trendy clothing. But oddly enough, these pieces still manage to fall apart. And it's due to the bad construction of the clothing, where seams just can easily rip, holes emerge from consistent use, and its color just fades away in weeks. But ironically, it takes decades to totally disintegrate. But again, there are solutions we can take. We need to move towards local and ethical production models to create a positive impact where we not only improve work conditions but also sustainability efforts. And this sort of localized production could reduce the need for long distance transportation, which is a major source of pollution in the fashion supply chain. And I think it could help shift fashion to become a bit more low waste. It could incentivize upcycling and producing more on demand while cutting on overproduction and the textile waste that's ending up in our landfill. But I do now want to talk about how sustainable fashion can help fight against the extraction of our planet. And what I mean is that there's a major environmental concern here in fast fashion, where it's consuming a lot of natural resources like water and raw materials, especially in conventional cotton, where there's a lot of farming involved, dyeing involved, and fabric processing that requires a lot of water, especially in regions facing water scarcity. And meanwhile, traditional fashion practices and production also heavily rely on materials like viscose, which is derived from wood pulp, and leather. These materials are directly linked to deforestation, since the high demand for them has led to the deforestation of critical forests. This is especially so for countries like Indonesia, Brazil, and parts of Africa, where valuable rainforests and other ecosystems are cleared for fiber and cattle farming. And this not only contributes to habitat loss for countless species, but also makes climate change worse by reducing the planet's ability to absorb carbon dioxide. And even if viscose is marketed as a more natural fabric, it is still derived from wood, and the process of obtaining it is highly damaging for forests. It also causes a loss of biodiversity and degrades the soil while making it harder for ecosystems to regenerate. But sustainable fashion can play a role in addressing this. Changing our ways, again, will not be overnight or easy easy, but we do need to change current practices in the status quo, and it will require a massive overhaul of the entire industry, from the way clothing is designed to how it's produced, marketed, distributed, and disposed. And this transformation will require robust laws and regulations to enforce sustainable practices, incentivize ethical production, and penalize wasteful, polluting activities. So to end the video, changing again current practices in the status quo is not simple. It will require a lot of changes, but I know that we have the power and the energy to push through and create the world that we need and desire. And we can play a role by demanding change and staying aware of what's happening in the fashion industry. We need to fight against deforestation, against chemical pollution, and unethical practices to protect our planet and our people for future generations to come. Okay? So I know we can do this. I know it's a lot. It seems overwhelming, but I think every small step towards that vision will keep us going the right direction. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. And until next time, peace and love, Ellie. Bye.